Welcome to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. And Otto, I know you came in today with a whole list of wonderfully organized things for us to chat about. And I don't even have to, but it's like the one thing I'm like, you know what? I don't even need to do some crazy research for this because I know Otto is going to come in. And I know Otto, we were talking earlier, which we probably should have recorded. We could have had the full segment, the three of us, and I'm calling in Dan to this as well. We were chatting about AI, which is a hot topic in so many of our lives, and we were learning so many things that you could certainly do with it.
Here's my thinking. All
right, give it to us.
We're not experts. First of all, we have to establish that.
I mean, speak for yourself.
Right. We are not experts, but we are people who are interested in it and who've done some homework and have used it some. And maybe the first thing to do is try to explain a little bit in English, what is AI?
Yeah, exactly.
All right. It sounds like some mysterious artificial intelligence.
Yes.
And I think the term is generative. It's the kind that we would use. They have AI for people doing coding and writing apps and whatnot. The part that people would be involved with, as I see it, like us, are strictly where it's like using any other app that you have on your computer, like going to Google search, engines. And I think that's the first part of it. It's not a big mysterious thing that you have to be a genius to use.
No.
All right.
It's very user friendly.
It sounds like it's like way out there. Artificial
oh my gosh. I remember the first time I was going to go to it because I was like, all right, let's figure this out.
And I was like, oh,
there's like a little bar and you just type something in,
Yeah. So, I went on Google, not Google, but ChatGPT prior to the show, and I asked the question, what's the best ideas for retirees or seniors to use AI?
Okay, I like
all
that.
right. Well, it spit out a 8-page thing.
Wow, 8 pages.
In English or more, actually, in English that told me all kinds of reasons. All right. And I thought to myself, this is good stuff.
I like that.
And realizing at my age bracket, I'm technically pretty up to speed, and I get that, all right? But you do not have to be technically up to speed. If you have a phone, a tablet, or a laptop, what you have to do is one of three things, all right? There's an app. You have to use an app. And this app could be ChatGPT, it could be Copilot, or it could be Gemini. Personal experience and of you guys, ChatGPT was the kind of kingpin that started a lot of it, and that's who I've been using. And it really is a tremendous.
No, and I can even take it further. What's nice about it too is that you don't even need to log in all the time, right? So when I first started using it, I didn't even have a login.
It's free.
Yeah, and I was just going to the website. I wasn't putting in, any login information. It was just I went to the website, it popped up and I was like, okay, cool, here's my question. Boom, boom, boom. And obviously, if you want more in-depth things, you might need to have some kind of an account. But for general stuff, you're just able to go on and ask. And I think that it obviously, we always say, everything comes with its limits and stuff. But I do think, for especially a senior or a retiree in your home, I think you could have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah.
And education.
Well, the way it used to work, and still does in some respects, is you would go to Google search or any other engine that you use to search, and you would ask a question, and you would get a whole bunch of different websites for you to go to try to find the answer to that question. The question was not answered.
It wasn't straightforward, right?
No, you would have to search further within somebody else's website, which took a lot of time. And had I tried to do this in the previous world, I would have had to pick through all kinds of different places to find the answer to the question. So this thing here talks about what can you do? Even if you're not a technical wizard, you just go, you load the app in, ChatGPT for an example, you open the app and you ask it a question. Now, it may ask you if you're a Google Gmail or whatever, right? You need an ID. So you give it your ID. And now you're in, and it's free. I think, as far as so far for me, it's been free. I haven't pushed it past the free stage.
You haven't, you're still working, which is so, I haven't paid for anything either that I've done.
There are some paid services. Like for a while, for a couple of months, I was using Soro. Soro is its graphic generator.
Right.
Now you mentioned earlier off air that you had generated some graphics
On ChatGPT.
on ChatGPT, and it will generate some simple graphics.
But then you
if
have
want
like a
something
limit.
really in depth, you can actually go to their. I think they're on Soro 3 now, which is can create like if tell it put an elephant in the middle of Times Square and have it dance, and it'll make a video that has an elephant dancing.
Well, I used it in a simple way. The people who live next to me were great at helping, a husband, a wife, and 2 daughters, all right? And I wanted to thank them. And I went on ChatGPT and I said, draw me a picture of a man, a husband and a wife with 2 teenage daughters shoveling snow and one using a plow. In a couple of minutes, I get back this great cartoon, which I used in a thank you note with a little something, and I'm like, this is amazing.
I'm with you. That's my literal favorite thing to do on there.
I knew nothing what to do.
I know.
Asked the question easily.
Yeah.
And it was great.
The amount of cartoons I've done of my dog on ChatGPT is astonishing. If anyone received my Christmas card, I actually had like a little cartoon on the back that was, made through ChatGPT. And it was, my husband, me and my dog. And it was the cutest thing in the world. And I can't tell you how much and I was like, this little thing. And it was so fun. And, I could say, oh no, my dog needs to be grayer. No, he has blue eyes. Then it'll make like these adjustments. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I look, there's an argument in academia where I work about AI. That kids are cheating, they're using it in certain ways. And yes, for writing their essay or their term paper, that's kind of the wrong thing. But you can tell oftentimes the difference in writing. But I was telling Otto this example I use with my students and I use with my colleagues who are anti-AI, because I'm not anti-AI. I have issues with it, which I think we all do, reservations. So when I was a kid, I had to go to the library to do a book report or a report. I went to the reference librarian. The reference librarian got me the books I needed. I went through the books. I wrote the report. That's all we're doing here. I mean, not that reference librarians aren't important, and so are libraries, but I think libraries are going to become one of the places in our society where we go, and they're going to use AI to help us understand.
Right.
It's just, for me, it's a tool to get to information faster.
Yeah, it's a positive tool if used. What we're talking about here is the use of AI for a retired or a senior.
Right.
And what can they do with it?
And
it's not taking a job away from you.
No. And I think what it can do for a senior is exactly what you've done. Give you a list of things I can do. You could even boil it down to something else. I mean, you do your listing of everything that's going on in town or North Hempstead. You realize I can get that in about 3 seconds on ChatGPT. Okay, I can get that information. And if you miss it here or you don't call 311, it's just another resource. It's just another resource.
And we learned today that you could get a spreadsheet, which Dan just really rocked our world. And Otto and I were like, OMG.
Another one that shocked me is you can copy an email, paste it into ChatGPT, and find out if they think this is a scam or not.
Yeah. It'll scan.
That's great too.
All right.
Because it'll compare it against other scams.
Correct.
And it'll give you the now, again, there's a disclaimer at the bottom of every AI that says this information may not be accurate. You should be double checking. And before this, one of the things I think that threatens academics was Wiki.
Yep.
Right?
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia. And the problem with Wikipedia is it's better now, but in its very early days, you could write anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
And it was comical.
Without
like sometimes
any reference material, without anything now.
It could just be like your average show spot.
When I tell students, you can use Wikipedia, but don't use the text. Go down to the bottom, see the sources where they got their information and use those sources and go a little deeper. But right now with AI, students can go in and say, explain,
well,
blank to me. And it will find the information and do it.
And they'll give you the sources a lot of times too, which is nice.
And you can, but that's the point. If you're specific in your question. Like I did a search yesterday. I was looking for the teachers of the year in every state of the union. It kept asking me questions to help me find it, and then telling me these are the source materials I'm going to use. And if I had said, please also list the sources, which it did, it gave me all those websites where I got the sources from. So I can look at those websites individually, or I can just look at the names of them and see if they're not goofy.
Well, it kept asking, like you said, it asked me questions. Would you like me to create a AI starter guide for seniors? I said, yes. And it came back. And then I said, give me a starter guide for people have some technical knowledge. Then give me a starter guide for people who have little technical knowledge. And it gives me crisp answers.
Yeah.
And then it has a checklist, the first 10 things to try with AI. I think if you went through a little list like this, like you're a hobby and you like stamp collecting or whatever, I don't care what it is. Give me some information about what the trend is in stamp collecting now.
It's a research tool.
It's tremendous.
But it has its negative points. We know and you're a social worker. You understand this. It should never be used for therapy. It should never be used.
Right.
The first hour of today's show, which you can watch elsewhere or listen to elsewhere, talked about hotlines for people in need.
With human to human.
AI is not the place to go for that. No. Another human being is the place to go for that. So I want to put that disclaimer.
Absolutely.
We support AI as a tool, but not as a tool for therapy.
Well, one of the things it ends up with in here is what AI is not, all right? It's not a doctor or a lawyer. It's not perfect. It's not a replacement for professional advice. And it's really not a complete replacement for a full-blown conversation with human beings. All right.
Right. But you've said this phrase on the show multiple times, Dr. Google. Unfortunately, so many people go online and try to self-diagnose themselves or get so anxiety-ridden and wrapped up on a diagnosis that they've actually been given. And that's dangerous. To me, that's dangerous to go into AI and ask those kinds of, because you're not a doctor. You used it effectively, and I think you should explain that.
Like I'm going to go to a nephrologist. I do not have a major kidney issue, but
but somebody's at his front door.
I'll have to answer that one. The phone rang while we were
so popular. This guy. I mean, this guy.
I asked him to silence his phones.
But okay, so nephrologist, and I do not have a major issue, but I go on AI and I say, okay, I have an appointment with a nephrologist. Please give me questions to ask the nephrologist. All right. I'm not looking for a diagnosis for the nephrologist. All right. So now I have a bunch of intelligent questions to ask the doctor.
Right.
And I don't have to ask them all.
Right.
But at least I'm getting educated and I know what to ask.
Which, from my memory of you, again, talking on this show about medical issues, you should always go to a doctor with questions. Whether they
I mean, that's like the number one thing. Right.
But, if you go to a new doctor, that's terrific, especially if it's a specialist. You don't know what to ask. You don't know what he's going to tell you. So I think that's terrific. I think that's a very good use of it. But again, don't use it to diagnose anything. Don't use it for those purposes. That's not.
Oh, it's like, and obviously I think this is only going to get further and further the case, but I've been hearing on the news and social media, a lot of people have formed, there's these AI relationships now because people really have been so
turning his mic on
have been so become so literally talk to AI every day. And this was I've heard on my podcast. So you have to.
There's a balance here because you would never use it to diagnose. But I think on this show it was mentioned that if someone's home alone and they're always alone,
right,
and they want to have a conversation. Is it a bad
I know,
thing? Is it
I
a bad
know.
thing? I mean,
It's tough. I get it.
if you go to our website and hit podcast, you'll see there's a new podcast
Mm-hmm.
called "Is AI Intelligent?" done by one of the professors here on
Mm-hmm.
campus, and he brings that point up.
Mm.
He again, and I agree with him. It's a tool.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. You
Yeah.
should never use it for something diagnostic or personal.
True major issue.
Yeah.
You're better off getting some professional help and somebody to talk to.
Yeah, it's a
But-
human. You have to make human contact when you've got those kinds of issues.
Yeah, but like it says here, prepare for a doctor's visit.
Yeah.
A to-do list.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's and you're a big traveler, so.
Mhm.
If you're going to travel to a new place,
Yeah.
isn't it great to
So
learn,
I literally
learn
just
as
did
much
that.
as you can about
It is
that place?
incredible because I just did that because I was talking to my husband. I said, "Oh, we were talking like little trips we want to do because one major one we want to get to South Dakota, right?" So I like typed in like a road trip from New York to South Dakota. Tell me where to stop, what season, and I got this great little report. And I did like a little presentation to my
It's a
husband.
starting guide.
Yeah.
And just so you know, I've been there. It's a wonderful state.
Yeah, but if you didn't have that, you would wind up going to many, many websites.
Yeah, I
Right,
have.
We did a
right.
road trip through there before AI.
Mhm.
And yes, we were on our phones looking for places
Right.
of interest other than the ones that are obviously major places of interest
Yeah.
in South Dakota. And there are ones in South
Yeah.
Dakota, believe it or not, you jaded New Yorkers.
Yeah.
But now you could literally say, I'm going
was
on
incredible.
a 10-day trip.
Mhm.
Give me an itinerary for 10 days. I'm traveling from here to here. I'm going
Yeah.
so many miles. As long as you're specific and ask those questions, and like you said, Otto, if it doesn't understand the question, it'll
tell you, right,
It'll give
right.
you options
Yeah.
for. Do you really want to do that, or do you want me to do this? Which is a little creepy because it kind of talks like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a guide and it's a tool.
Yeah.
To
Yeah,
save you
no,
a
I just think-
tremendous amount of time.
Yeah.
Really.
And it's fun, and I think that's, we were saying, like, if you're using it for like, to plan something or, to do a fun little graphic or a sign or whatever. I mean, I can't tell you the amount of times I've made, I always am making like little tags of things, especially around the holidays. I was doing all kinds of things in AI, and it was fun. And it was like, it was like this collaborative kind of fun effort. And I could only think what it would be like for someone, who's, home alone or something,
Yeah.
to do.
Well, suppose you have an issue with somebody, a utility, pick anybody really, and you want to write a letter, which is somewhat sensitive. So you tell it, look, I want to write a letter to the blah blah because I have this problem, blah blah, and I'd like to get a solution that's like blah blah.
Yeah.
It will write a letter for you. Usually a very good letter. All right.
Well, I've actually used that for like I put in a series of bullet points and say, let's write because I was testing it. I want to see, because if my students are going to use it, I want to know what they're doing.
Exactly.
So I give it a series of bullet points and I say, write me an essay on this, and it'll spit it out. The same question I've asked my students. So now I've seen a demonstration of it. But again, I would, like anything else, I would review it as much as I could, because there are going to be mistakes, especially if you're sending out a letter that may be important, like to a company
and
or
like
to a,
we,
or to a
you keep saying
corporation.
that, it's a tool, and I think I've used it too for with, like, for example, for a newsletter, if I wanted like a bulleted list or something, or a headline or whatever it is. And I think like it's a great like tool that can be tweaked, right? So they'll spit out something, I'm like, oh, I like that, like, and it gave me some ideas, but then like I went in and added things or changed wording or whatever it might be, so it becomes kind of like this collaborative
I've
effort.
used it for somebody gives me a book. All right. I admit that one of my strengths is not reading 500-page books. All right. So I get the book and I say, okay, I go to ChatGPT and I say, ChatGPT, give me a 1,000-word recap of this book.
That's why I would never trust him in a book club.
Do you not trust his
But I will get in that 1,000 words.
Yeah.
There's the interesting part about what you just said is when I was a kid, when I was in high school, my mom bought this encyclopedia from Reader's Digest, which had all the great books in it. Condensed down into, like, Reader's Digest, condensed down.
Yeah.
And I used that during high school because I did read books that I liked in high school, but the ones that they kind of imposed on you, you're like, oh, God.
Listen, I come from the Cliff Notes Spark Note generation, guys. So.
Well, my generation.
Cliff Notes when I was in school too. But now Spark Notes are online. The kids have all the advantages.
My generation a lot used classic comic
books, which told all the great stories.
Comics, like A Tale of Two Cities in a comic book.
My fear, of course, this is built into dystopian science fiction.
Of course, absolutely.
Is that you've seen the Terminator movies, we've seen War Games, which was a great movie with Matthew Broderick, where computers were given the launch codes, and all of a sudden we're gonna die.
I'm with it.
That worries me,
right? Because we're talking about like surface level stuff, right? And like quick educational things, like having some fun. But it is scary, right? Because I'm also on the social media side where you're seeing like these things that look so real that are not real.
It's dangerous because social media, if you're using it to create havoc, you could. Because it could continually post things that are
and you really don't know. Like I can't. It's a running joke with my mom because she'll send me something. She's like, I have no idea if this is true or not.
But I read an op-ed piece that scared the bejesus out of me. Who wrote if you asked the question of AI, which is where did we come from? Where do human beings come from as a species, or where do we come from beyond? It could have to think so hard that it would need other computers to talk. So it would get on the internet and it would acquire every computer in the world.
Give me chills.
Okay, it would acquire every computer in the world. It would make it part of its. But then it realizes that the people using the computers are getting in its way. You see where I'm headed here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, listen, I'd watch this movie.
So the computer creates a virus within a lab because it's giving the lab bad information because it needs to eliminate what's keeping it from answering the question. Now, this is an op-ed piece. It's science fiction. But you think of Terminator, you think of War Games.
Yeah, and this is a nighttime conversation.
Well, hopefully AJ wants to, hopefully Otto wants to talk about bunnies or something to end the show. Well, but that's the dystopian side of AI.
No, I know.
But for me, like any other technology that we've seen going back to the printing press, the film, radio, television, it's all we have to grow into it. We have to adapt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at old like I saw Pole to Pole, I think it was, with Will Smith, and there's a thing in there where they had something that was done 30,000 years ago on a wall, drawings.
Right. Yep.
That's how it was 30,000 years ago.
Exactly. Right? That was our form of communication.
We don't draw on a wall anymore, and technology is going to be here forever, hopefully. Hopefully never to the point where it takes over people. I don't think that'll
Well,
happen.
we created it, so we have to find ways to control it.
Right.
Well, and what started me thinking about all of this stuff was an article about most workers give worst part of jobs to AI.
Yeah.
Like if you have a job where you get a lot of emails.
Yes.
Like I remember I don't get them anymore, but you get like 200-300 emails. How the hell do you manage that? So the more tools you have to manage that, maybe there can be responses to certain emails that are fixed.
Again, I think AI is here to help ease things. It's supposed to ease our jobs. The fear is it's going to eliminate. It's going to take away.
Right.
And it will.
It will in some cases. Sure.
All right. But that's what happened.
But so did robotics. So did
so many new things.
When it first came out.
So we have to learn to adapt. Like I said, this is all about adaptation. The problem is most people.
I think that might be the ongoing theme of our segments, guys. We're always leading to adaptation.
Yeah, but humans are bad at that.
Yeah,
they're very bad at it.
Well, most people really don't like to change anything. All right.
I love to change.
Yeah,
but that's us.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing is they say constant is change.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the only constant.
I
actually got that in a Fortune like a couple of days ago. A Fortune cookie. I did.
Well, I mean, it's a fact, and the sooner you learn that, the better off you're going to be in life. You know.
No, it's true. And listen, I'm like half and half on change, right? Because I'm like a very let's keep things consistent. I'm like a big let's keep status quo.
I like that too.
Yeah.
Within, but then today, it's nice and comfortable.
But here's the contrast. I have a sign in my office. Tradition is peer pressure from dead people.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Tradition is great in many ways because it keeps a consistency in the heredity of your bloodline but you have to me,
Yeah,
I think
no, I
every
get it.
generation should create its own
Yeah.
traditions. It can't just go with,
Yeah.
go with the
No,
flow
I get
all the
it.
time.
You've heard me talk about my fishing trip, which was 74 years, all right? And it started, we used to have 2 boats, 50 people, and 1948. As time evolves, we were down to 8 people. And the next thing you know, we're down to 4 people, all right? One person had Alzheimer's, the other one can't walk, the other one can't get on the boat, the whole bit that goes along with it. And I said to everybody, I said, look, it's time to cut the cord here.
Yeah. Well, we've seen it with the service organizations like the old Elks Club. They don't exist anymore. I mean,
Well, they exist.
They exist, but the
have a
membership
hard
is
time
so
getting-
small now.
Right.
All these old organizations, which were part of the culture in the 50s, they don't exist anymore because the next generation was not as interested.
Specifically, I'm familiar with. They do
my
exist.
father-in-law was
They
an
do
elk.
exist.
They do, but I like there was
It's not the
the
same.
lodges have disappeared. There's
Yeah.
at least 3 or 4 I've seen disappear.
Yeah,
One in my
they're-
neighborhood.
Like
Yeah.
the one I was with,
Because-
not an active member,
Right. No, my
Uh-huh.
father-in-law was.
Yeah.
But we've just seen the shrinkage of that. But that's I think that's in some ways
Well, it's
generational.
like all the veterans, not all, but many, the American Legion, Veteran
Yeah.
Foreign Wars, all of them are having major problems.
Yeah.
Younger veterans do not get involved. They
No.
got enough to survive with working and having money
Right.
Yeah.
to go through what goes on now.
Right.
After World War II, it was a different atmosphere. Everybody who was a veteran would go to the Elks Club or the
Yeah.
The VFW or the American Legion.
have a
or-
couple of beers, go
Yeah.
home. It was very different.
Right.
That doesn't go on now.
No.
And that's change.
No, but
Is
that-
it for
yeah.
the better? It is
No,
what it is.
It's
is
just
what it
right,
is,
exactly.
right?
It's traditions do fade.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot you can do about that because newer generations want to do
No,
something
but I
a
think
little
it
bit.
goes back, and Dan and I say this all the time about you, Otto, and like you are a guy who like rolls with the times, and I think that's how and I always admire like actors and comedians and musicians who are willing to change and embrace things. I talk about that all the time with my mom too. Like, those are like the best comedians. We say we love Only Murders in the Building, right? Steve Martin and Martin Short are so great with Selena Gomez because like they're like down to like learn with what she's talking, how she, it's
As someone who saw them on SNL and SCTV, you wouldn't have thought that when they were coming up as comedians, but they've adapted. They've understood that this is.
And I
this is
love
something
that.
they want.
I think it's like, you to communicate with your grandkids, like you're using technology, you're diving into all these things.
Well,
so
I think what we were talking here, the main thing is the AI part of it, that it can be a great tool. It can be very enjoyable.
Yeah,
It
like
can
so
be-
many things, right?
There's so many things you can do with it, and you do not have to be a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
It's not, it's an app that you use. Instead of using Google search, you use AI. It could be ChatGPT or numerous others. There are those, when you get really into it, that specialize in certain areas. And like you mentioned, the graphics in certain industries, but that's not what we all get into.
And who knows? And we'll keep you posted on how things evolve. But Otto, we're at the end of the show. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town. I'd like to thank Otto for another great show. Project Independence and You is a production of Long Island University Public Radio. Special thank you to Dan Cox. Join us again next Friday at 10 a.m. on LIU Public Radio. Goodbye and have a great weekend.